Just
Welcome to the Gooners podcast, season 6, episode 49. It's the Open Mic postgame show, and the treble is back on. Jared, it is on, baby.
We're back.
On Liverpool, Schmiverpool, as far as I'm concerned. Welcome to the post-game Open Mic show. Jared, it's always nice to see you. It's very early where you are. It's not even the crack of 9 a.m. yet in Chicago, but thanks for joining me this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice to come on after a win, a good performance, and I love seeing that you're out and checking out the game and you've got company with you.
I do. So without any further ado, today I am in the lovely Sarasota, Florida, my future home. The house is underway. Magic's Kingdom is being built, and we're here just to spend a few days on the beach and enjoy the sun. And with me today is a man who came to Sarasota from L.A. I'm not, that's. You could say, is that an upgrade or a downgrade to come from Sarasota from LA?
I love it out here. It's an upgrade for me.
Nice.
But all I can say is, oh shit, there goes the neighborhood. You're moving in.
I know. I mean,
it's like
there's only enough room. Again, it's like when I was in town with Danny last week. There's only enough room in one city for balding, bearded,
chunky,
somewhat full-figured men. And yes, Huga, it is Mr. LA. You want to turn around? Steve Manios is with me today. The famed LA Gooner, and you've got a fan. You've got a fan already.
I got my one fan.
You have your fan.
Is my wife online?
I'd like to wave to all my fan. But yeah. So let's start off. I mean, we've got a Rich waiting in the red room. If anyone else wants to participate, I'm looking at you, Daniel. Looking at you, Alonzo. Come on, man. We need to hear from you. Mike Hers is in here, but too lazy to come in as a host. But if you want to come in, just go to GoonerOpenMic.com and you'll be put onto the show. So 10 games unbeaten, followed by 1 game significantly beaten. I know the tone on our show last week was pretty much don't panic. It's Liverpool. They're on a different level. And we're, going to have these kinds of games every once in a while. The more important game is going to be the ones that are coming up, and can we regain our form against Newcastle? So, job well done today. I mean, what's your overall take on the game?
Yeah, I'm very happy. I think the character, for me, that was all about the character after last match. How are we going to rebound against Newcastle? And I think we rebounded nice. I think the players played a great game out there. And I'm happy with the result. I'm happy with the way they turned it around and just took it to them.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those games where, Jared, I mean, after the first half, you're starting to get a little nervous because 80% possession, no end product. I think I read somewhere that we had the most attempts at goal in a half without scoring since Manchester United earlier this year. We had 12, they had 15 without scoring. Were you getting that sinking feeling that like this was going to be a bit of a hangover?
I felt okay about it, given that Newcastle's just pretty poor defensively. I thought eventually we would get the breakthrough, and I think really we owe it to Saka. He came out of halftime on fire, made a number of good plays. We saw him beat 2 men on the right side and get a shot on goal. We saw him from the left on the short set piece, like a perfect ball in front of Dubravka that unfortunately no one was on the other end of. And then, it has the great interplay with Tavares for the opening goal. And all three of those within about 15 minutes. So I think he realized the game was there to be had. And, he's the type of player that can go out and make something happen. And he certainly did. Unfortunate to see him go off, but he really got the ball rolling. And as soon as that happened, you could just see all the momentum on Arsenal's side. And they really, what I enjoyed about it is they went out and looked for a second rather than immediately sitting back and trying to sort of rest on their laurels after getting one. As they came out full of attack, got forward, and had a great second half overall.
Yeah, I think it was huge that we scored our second before bringing on El Neni, rather than the El Neni thing and then the second, because when you bring in El Neni, you're then sitting on your lead. But yeah, 2-0. That second goal is always massively important for us, because how many times have we seen a dominant performance, a lead, and then you end up with something less than you should have gotten it for out of the game. So we're going to bring in Rich. I want to ask Rich specifically about one of the 11 men on Arsenal today. So Rich from Ohio is in the hizzle, wearing a kit that is not the William kit. We're going to put that to bed. We're going to retire that. Okay, Rich? I'm not going to talk to you anymore about the kid. We're not going to bring it up every time we see each other, because we're past that stage of our relationship.
It's the shirt that must not be named.
Yes, yeah, it's the shirt that must be burnt, actually. And
somewhere in the closet.
I know I bought it for you, kind of as a. The history is, we needed a win. I said, if we get a win and Willian assists on a goal, I'm buying him the shirt. I'm buying somebody a shirt. Rich won the shirt. He wore the shirt. He didn't have to wear the shirt. I bought the shirt. I didn't have to buy the shirt, but I bought the shirt. And I want you to know, because the money came out of my pocket. You can burn it. It's okay. You don't have to
I can't bring myself to burn an Arsenal shirt. I'm not that guy.
Well, that's true. That's true. I wouldn't do that.
I don't live in Cleveland. I didn't burn my LeBron James shirt. So,
well, you're the one.
No, it's just so. Who did you want to discuss?
I would like to discuss the man known as Noon Tavaj, because we all know that the guy's kind of played out of his skin in his early run out at Arsenal. He's really, during a bit of an injury to KT, kind of solidified his hold on that position until last week, when he came up against Mo Salah, best player in the world on form at the moment, and had a shocker, an absolute shocker. Smart decision to keep him in today to build his confidence against the Newcastle team, or were you fully expecting to see KT?
I was expecting to see KT. I'm a KT guy, but it was a tale of two halves, because the first half he was still recovering from getting Mo Solid. It just
really.
But I mean, he was okay, but he had those moments. Second half, from what I saw of it, because I had to take my kid to school for something, he looked good.
It's Saturday. Did you know?
Yeah, they have a fundraiser for their robotics team. She had to be there at 9:00. It's like, really? It's the middle of an Arsenal game, and I've got to take you to the school? Okay.
I mean, priorities, all right.
Yeah, hey, it was on the radio.
They have this thing called Uber, Rich. You could have sent the child.
Yeah.
Right, so
actually, I live a block and a half away. She could have walked.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so you're, we know where your priorities are, but anyway, so in your mind, I mean, you were expecting KT. Do you think that? I mean, I don't think that we could say that it didn't pay off, because I mean, to me, and this is a spoiler, he's my man of the match today. But I mean, what do you make of his play?
Like I said, I thought he was okay in the first half. The second half, he was lights out. I mean, he's one of those guys. He's young. He's going to grow into games. He's going to have those games where he goes up against a world-class player. And let's face it, Salah's a world-class player. I don't care who's going up against him as your left back. He's going to get beat at least once or twice.
Yeah.
You've got to. But I believe they said last week we were the youngest average age Premier League team, and going against one of the best teams in the world. Look, okay, I wasn't expecting 4-0. I thought we'd give it a go, but
so
we had our chances.
Yeah, we were talking, Steve, about something that I tweeted earlier this week, which is that like the stage that we're at right now, I think, is where we have to close up shop and do exactly what we did today against the type of team that we played today. You can get top 4, much less top 6, by being flat track bullies, and essentially putting away and getting 3 points out of every 4, or call it 6 or 7 points out of every 9 against teams in the bottom 15. I'll include Leicester in there. I'll include West Ham in there. Even though they're 4th right now, I'm talking about the non, City, Chelsea, Liverpool teams. You get 3/4 of those points, or even 2/3 of those points. You don't need to show up. All right, let me take that back. You don't need to compete and get 3 points on the road against Liverpool, or even take a point on the, away from home against Chelsea. You don't need to in order to still make the top 4. Now, would I like to? Yeah. Do I think that, ultimately to challenge for the title, do you need to? Absolutely. You have to. But where we are right now, we're trying to get back in Europe. So
yeah, we're still a year away or so of that. I mean, with these young guys, you got to expect them to make mistakes. I was telling Mike earlier, reading online stuff, people complaining about players who are 19 and 20 years old. They're going to make mistakes. They're not men yet. They're still young boys, and they're learning out there. And, we saw today, they learned from some mistakes last week, and they came back and did to a team what they should have done today. A team that they had to beat, they beat them.
Yeah.
And I agree, Mike. If we can take the teams below us, we'll have enough points to finish, in my opinion, number 4. I mean, anything outside the top 4, I can't see us 1 through 3 at this point.
No, I don't see anybody 1 through 3 other than the teams that we all know are going to finish 1 through 3. So really, this year is the tale of West Ham, Arsenal. Jared, help me out here. Who else is in that? United,
Leicester.
Leicester's way off the pace right now, but they, so who knows whether this is one of those crazy years where they finish 14th or whether they get back on track. But this is the year where you got a chance at 4th, but you should really definitely be able to get 5th or 6th. And I think we need to be given it all to get to 4th. I mean, we're the one team that's not in Europe this year that has the ability to get those that rest, and we could do it. Rich, I mean, and we're going to bring on Alonso in just a second to join us, but Rich is as you look at the rest of the season, we are level on points with West Ham, with them still playing a game, but it's against City. Did you expect in any way, shape, or form after the start we had to be in the middle of the Europe spots well
At
before
this point of the season? No.
I mean, we all said, we didn't all say this, but I said I'll judge Arteta in November. Because September too early, October, it's just start to the season. But by November, you get a sense of what team you have, and I like the team that we have.
I agree, and I think I want to say I was on one of the pods while you were off with Owen, and I said I'm giving Arteta.
Gallivanting with Owen.
Well, no, you were off the pod, and Owen was on hosting, and I think I said that I would give Arteta till Christmas.
Yeah,
and you know what? Right now, win the games we have to win. You have to beat those sides that are not, above you in the table. A loss to Liverpool, yeah, okay, it's not what we wanted, but they're a better squad than us right now. I mean, we're going to get there. I mean, these kids are doing a good job, and then I like what I saw today.
We don't know what their ceilings are yet. I mean, every time we think we've seen the ceiling of a young player. There's so much more to go from these guys, and they just have to be surrounded by by the right coaching, the right environment. It's I think there's everything to look positively about. Now, the next question is going to be, are you satisfied? Is it reasonable to say that we really underperformed today against a woeful team and only barely won 2-0? We'll ask Alonso that. So Alonso, welcome to the pod. From you're in are you in Houston or Philly? I don't remember.
So I'm in north of Houston, called the Woodlands, Texas. So north of Houston, yeah.
Nice. Well, welcome to the Open Mic Pod, Alonso.
What's up,
Looks
Alonso?
like Liverpool have already scored. The game just started, so so let's actually use that. Liverpool's good, right? So how much did last week kind of take you out of your comfort level, and how much has it been restored this Saturday morning?
So as an Arsenal fan, you kind of expect to lose to Liverpool and to City and to Chelsea. So my hopes weren't as high as say we're doing pretty good in the league, and we didn't lose any games until on August. So we didn't lose any games, but you still have that feeling that we could put up a fight, right? So I think it's kind of sad that we didn't score a goal at least, but I think that we have a young team, and hopefully we'll learn from that. Or they'll learn from those mistakes, and having Mo Salah, he's a great player, and so is Sunday on Monday. So, it is what it is. I think that our expectation level should be where we need to be mid-level of the tables, like the West Hams, like the Leicester's, like other teams, like especially Tottenham. So yeah.
Well, and I think United. If it wasn't for I am 10 times more worried about the United coaching appointment than I am about the Tottenham coaching appointment from a couple of weeks ago. But I mean, Jared, those are kind of the two teams that it's really going to be about. I mean, the other three are for another year, but I think United and Spurs right now are the teams that we have, and maybe West Ham have to show that we're ahead of in the developmental stage.
Oh, 100%. I think more so than any year I remember. This year, there's really only one Champions League spot open. The three in the top three spots right now, even if they have some injuries, they're still just levels above everyone else. They're going to remain in those top three spots. It's just a matter of who's going to finish where. And as far as Tottenham and United, I like where we're sitting right now. Tottenham is a mess. Even since Conte's come in, they look terrible, which is great. We can all enjoy, laughing at their failures each and every time they go out there. United will be the interesting one to see how much things change when Ragnick comes in. I'm not sure that it's going to be he comes in and they instantly win 4 or 5 in a row like you see.
Oh no,
sometimes.
but I'm worried about 1 to 2 years from now.
Yeah, I think long term it's a really good appointment. It sounds like, right now he's the interim, and then he's going to have a consultancy role, and he's a great team builder. I think it's a good move for them. So I was a little bit disappointed to see them, kind of get him in, but I'm interested to see how they perform right away and what that's going to mean. I think he's already said he would be willing, or that maybe the team would be open to keeping him on beyond this season, pending the results. So it's a little bit of an awkward spot if you say, hey, you're not doing well enough to remain the coach, but you're going to stay on as a consultant. And then they're back in the coaching market, maybe looking at.
Does he prefer that consultant role? I mean, doesn't he kind of prefer being the Adu to someone's Arteta, or the David Dean maybe to an Arsene Wenger type of relationship?
Yeah, and I'm certainly not the foremost expert on the man in any way, but that was my understanding. When I hear his name, I think of him more in a front office executive type role than I do as a on the sideline manager. So we'll see how that goes. And I mean, how do you feel if you're Ronaldo right now? You came back to United, Solskjaer gets sacked, the team's a mess. You've got a limited number of years left, and now you're looking at them just signing an interim rather than going for a full-time, or a full long-term replacement. He can't be overly happy with the way things are going there. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out with him. Kind of as the year goes, especially if they don't make a pretty quick turnaround here, they could fall down the table pretty quickly, as competitive as it is this year.
Yeah, it's a fascinating thing. And today, the one thing I was looking at today, and everyone's been talking about our attack and how we just haven't been able to score goals. We really haven't looked that fluid on offense. I think today we were okay in that category. But what I was really, really, really looking at was the back four, because we have been getting clean sheets. We have been closing down teams. I felt very confident with the opposition in possession, knowing that we had a well-drilled, a back four that's played well together. And I think that they absolutely delivered today. I mean, it was like the 10 games prior to Liverpool. And the more that game is a one-off, the better off that we are. But any thoughts on Tomiyasu? I mean, the center partnership today. Personally, I thought Ben White was, from the moment he started the game today, phenomenal.
No, it's actually great now going into matches and not worried about how many goals you're going to leak in, how many goals you're going to give up.
When the Mustafi's going to hit.
Yeah. When's Mustafi? When is, when are we going to see this? We're up 1-0, as you said, and controlling a game, and in the 90th minute, some stupid thing goes through. And I think that was critical that we shore up the defense before anything else. Now I expect that we have a strong defense. They're working together. These kids are great. Now let's start moving forward. Let's see if we can get Pierre there to not miss a couple of those sitters every now and then. And I mean, that should have been a 3 or 4 goal.
It should have been.
Yeah, it should have been 3 or 4 goals. And I think that's my only critique about it, as you said earlier, is that these are teams. It's not that we have to beat them. We have to beat them. We have to get 4 goals. We have if fourth place comes down to goal differential, right now we're really struggling on that. We need to put goals against these teams to build our confidence.
Yeah, I don't know that there's ever been a team who's joint 4th, 5th on goal differential, whose goal differential is negative. And it's not. I mean, we've had 2 significant, a 5-0 and a 4-0, but and our wins are not 4-0, 5-0. So I mean, I guess I understand how it's come to be, but yeah, that's got to turn around because we're gonna have to actually outpoint teams. We're not gonna get any kind of goal differential situations. Rich, did Joe Willock, does he play for Newcastle?
I think I saw him foul somebody once. He didn't look that good to me.
I mean,
that was a great sale.
Better sale Iwobi for 35 or Willock for 25?
I think Willock for 25 because let's face it, his value wasn't going to get any more, and we fleeced him.
I mean,
didn't we turn that into I don't know, our midfield and left back at this point?
Yeah, I mean, we took the Willock money and we bought Tomiyasu and
Sambi
and I mean, we're looking like geniuses. I mean, you have to do that. I think we missed a trick, even though I didn't want at the time. I think we missed a trick by not selling Mainsley to Wolves. It's not building value and selling Saka and ESR for 90 million to West Ham or to Man City or something like that. It's selling players for 20 some odd million that wouldn't normally be worth more than single digits. That gets you back in the game a little bit when it comes to player trading.
100% agree, because I was like, oh, we need to keep Joe Willock, and then I was like, oh wait, they're going to give us 25 million? Yeah, okay.
People saw Joe Willock score 6 goals for Newcastle in 6 games, and they're like, oh, well, that's the answer to all of our problems. And I'm like, no, because he was here before and he didn't do it. So I was fully in favor of that. I think we've made too many mistakes by turning our nose down at offers like that for our players, and that's how you build the reputation as a club of not getting fleeced on deals as well. You're like, oh well, they're selling their guys for 20 million. I guess we have to pay 20 million for Eddie Nketiah now. Now that would be highway robbery.
I'd take that in a heartbeat.
Oh my God, I'd take that and. Yeah,
I'd take 10.
Yeah, I would take 10. Alonso, Aubameyang's miss has to be discussed. Let's not focus on the negative too much, but I mean, a fetus could have scored that goal. It just would have just sitting there. The umbilical cord would have hit the ball and it would have gone into the net.
Wow.
So Alonso, I mean, we have to get back into this discussion again. What did you think of Aubameyang's game? Because he is the first name on the team sheet right now with Xhaka hurt. He's the first name on the team sheet. Like it or not, he's going to play. And he's still sometimes a little bit less than prolific in front of net.
Yeah, and he's our captain too, so you got to figure that. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of discouraging as a fan. I think that he as a striker needs to learn how to play for example. I mean, he needs to start playing and set an example for these youngsters. And in big games, he needs to learn how to put the ball on that, because that's how you get confidence. Right now, his confidence is shot. And, of course, he has to play him because Arteta has to play him because he's the captain. And unfortunately that's the case now with the Boeing. Is like if he doesn't start putting in these goals, then who do you start? You know, I'm going to see Martinelli play more or Lacazette if that's the case. But yeah, from a standpoint as a fan, it's very discouraging, and he just stands there and does nothing to warrant a start at least. So yeah, very discouraging as a fan. But thankfully, Saka and Martinelli picked up the slack for him. But yeah, it's a mess.
Yeah, I mean that. There's been a lot of those. I mean, look, he scores some goals that others can't, but he also misses goals that no one else would, and it's just aggravating. I guess if you get him 8 chances a game, then you don't mind those misses so much. It's just that there are some games where there's that one opportunity and he misses it and the game's gone. We're gonna bring in a second shift of open micers, but before we do, Alonso, Rich, anything you wanna get out there into the world, whether it's about the game or if your shoulder itches or something. I mean, like whatever you want to get out there. So
I want to make a point about. I want to make a point about the Aubameyang miss. Let's face it, a 48-year-old out of shape guy that's sitting in his dining room on a computer drinking beer right now could have scored that goal.
Now you've just described me, except that I'm in a pub instead of my dining room. So
no, I'm in my dining room drinking beer. So. Yeah, right. I could have scored that goal.
10, 15. Yeah, I mean, I could have scored that. Now, what I couldn't have done was run up to the position where I needed to be to score that. But if I had been there the whole game, if I had just been in a chair the whole game in a recliner, and the ball came to me, I would have been able to score that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's where we're at.
All right. Well, Rich, thanks for joining us. Alonso, anything? Any last words?
Yeah, I think it's pretty amazing that Martinelli scored as fast as he did when he came on the pitch. That's very impressive, and I think Arteta is kind of telling how Pepe doesn't even look coming on the bench. So I think it kind of shows you that Pepe doesn't really have a future at Arsenal anymore.
I think it's safe to say that at this point. I mean, look, I don't, unlike others, I mean, how do you feel about Pepe? I don't think he's bad. I don't care that he was 72 million, but that keeps being the narrative. Biggest flop, blah, blah. He's fine. His output's been okay. He doesn't get a long run of games, and people can criticize Arteta for not, for pulling him out and ruining his confidence or whatever. But I think he's fine. But I think there's 3 or 4 people that are more preferred in front of him.
Well, that's it. I mean, bring him off the bench and cleanup game or whatever it is, but I just don't see him as a starter right now.
What's the number, if offered this summer, that you would sell him for?
What are you going to get for him? I mean, pretty much, that's a tax write-off. That's a big tax write-off.
Do you turn your nose up if someone offers 25 million, as was reported by Tom Kent? No, I'm just kidding. Tom did not report that.
Mike, if you want a clean house, you have to eat your mistakes, and you're going to eat a big mistake there. You're going to need a big mistake there.
I just hope my mistakes are bacon and Chinese food, because then I will eat those mistakes all day. Alonso, Rich, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Take care. Thanks, always good to see you guys, especially after a win. And hope you'll join us again after our Thursday night win against Manchester United.
See you guys. Take care, guys. Have a nice Saturday. Bye.
You too. All right. Next, we are bringing on. We've got where did Aston go? All right, well, I might have actually accidentally kicked Aston out of the studio. I hope you come back. But we're going to bring in somebody who I believe knows the man sitting next to me pretty well. We're bringing in Taylor from LA. Taylor, Steve, have you met?
Steve,
What's happening?
what?
And we also have Sir Aston from Orlando.
What's up, guys?
Aston, I'm near you. I'm Aston adjacent right now.
Oh, I knew I felt something tingling in the force.
Yes.
Or was that just me?
I'm actually at the pub where you and I watched the Arsenal Villarreal game.
Oh, bad memories. Bad memories. I was so upset.
Yeah. But they're the only pub that opens for the early games. If you remember what team the owner of the pub supported, do you remember?
No, not off rip. Was it Newcastle?
It was Newcastle. Yet we did vanquish them today, and they were very kind to us. So Taylor, let's start with you. Overall, we've talked about the Nuno Tavares inclusion. I don't think we've talked enough about Ben White, but that's up to you. Aubameyang's miss. But what was your take on today's game? Are we back on track?
Well, okay. So first of all, I just got to say hi to everybody and hi, Steve. I love you. I miss you all the time. For those that are listening, he built Arsenal LA. He's like, one of my closest friends. So hello. Anyways, today I don't know if you guys talked about this because I've been up since 2:30 and I came on kind of late.
Plastic.
Thing that stood out to me. So going into the game, I'm somebody that cannot separate politics from this game, and I wanted to absolutely batter Newcastle. I also think that it is no coincidence that our fine club released a bunch of pro LGBTQIA content today on all of our socials. So I took this as a real battle royale, and I wanted to see us put them to the sword. I was a little disappointed we did not do that to the extent I was hoping. I think that came down to a couple of things we spoke about, namely Aubameyang's miss, which honestly a good pelvic thrust would have scored it. But we covered that already. The one thing that stood out to me today that I was disappointed by was Thomas Partey. I don't know if you guys covered that.
We haven't. I did mention to Steve after the game, like I think the one guy who really didn't cover himself in glory today was Thomas Partey.
Yeah, I mean, I really thought that we'd be getting like at least 7 out of 10 performances from him pretty regularly, and we don't seem to be getting that. And one thing at the pub that I was saying, buddy, was, I hear that Manchester United game brought up a lot where he was just an absolute monster. That was a year ago. Like, that can only buy you so much goodwill, you know what I mean? And lately, he's just not been doing it for me.
Well, he needs our second best midfielder, Granit Xhaka, alongside of him to really excel, maybe.
I keep hearing that, and it might be true, but
why do you hate me, Jared? Why do you hate me?
So, Aston, give Jared a piece of your mind.
Well, I mean, I do think that there is a legitimate issue there. I think that what's going on is a little bit of the Ramses, as I like to say. Like, he always seems to, and to kind of like combat it. I do think that right now, and correct me, if you guys don't feel this way, disagree with me, but I feel like our fans are a little too reactionary. I feel like every game you're taking every little thing and extrapolating it across the whole season.
You take that back, Aston.
Hey. No. But I'm typing faster.
Next year,
but seriously, I think that there is a little bit of an issue with Partey with his injuries, and that's where the issue is that every time he gets injured, it takes him about 2 to 3 games, like Ramsey used to, and then he's back to being like, okay, he's the thing that fixes our midfield, and that's really an issue because if he's going to be the guy that we rely on, that's literally the reason why we sold Ramsey, isn't it?
Wait, are you talking about Xhaka?
Rely on him being fit.
Are you talking about Xhaka?
Well, no, I'm talking about Thomas Partey.
Okay, because I was going to say Xhaka's the opposite. Xhaka's out.
Yeah, Xhaka's forever fit. That's not the issue. Xhaka's issues are his feet, not his fitness. But that's where. But I think that's where a lot of it comes from. And I think that like same thing with as far as like small sample sizes. I mean, just a few weeks ago, Aubameyang was like 6 and 5. Like some ridiculous metric at the beginning of after the first 3 games of the season. So there are going to be these ups and downs, and we need to not like overreact to them. One of the things that I did see today that does start to scare me a little bit about Arteta, though, and it's taken me a long time to get here, is I saw a couple of moments where Sambi and ESR were doing 1-2 passes. And then you see Saka every night, and then Saka seemed like he was drifting a little bit later in the second half. Where was that in the first half? And why is our team so timid when attacking? It's almost as if they don't trust each other. And that's where I'm getting a little nervous that Arteta isn't bringing that trust. Maybe they trust in him and they trust in his plan, but they don't trust each other quite enough. They're not quite sure. How many times have I seen Aubameyang like running, like literally just running through their midfield, running like on the last man, ready to take a ball, and nobody's like willing to make the pass yet to him. And those are the things that kind of like we take for granted. We used to take for granted with Wenger, right? He used to be able to just pick a player and out of nowhere put them in our team, and they would seem like they've always played for Arsenal. And I think that's a real thing that I'm a little bit nervous about with Arteta right now.
Jared, do you think that is early stage development of a young team, or do you think it's a concern as Aston is toxically suggesting that it is?
I am toxic.
I'm kidding. You're the last person I would call toxic.
No, in terms of talent in those positions, I think like Smith Rowe, he's going to be here for a long time. He's one that I see him as being a staple in the lineup for a long period. And when you have young guys like that, I think over time it's always going to improve. It's just a matter of to what level. That being said, I don't think our midfield right now is the area that's going to be the primary focus, and we're going to see some changes. So hopefully we get in someone who combines with him a little bit better and maybe is a little bit better in connecting with the attack. So I think it would just the more games those guys play together, it's obviously going to improve to some degree. But I don't think he's going to have the same midfield partners next season as he has this season. I think we're going to see some significant change there. Maybe not in January, but certainly over next summer. So going into next season, it's going to be a completely different animal than kind of what we're seeing now.
And this is what's fascinating to me, because everyone says that we need that, and I agree. I mean, look, Partey, Lokonga, Xhaka. I mean, let's be frank. Elneny, his role on the team is exactly what we saw from him today, and in that, I would love to see him more, because that would mean that we're finishing off 2-0 wins. But we'll bring somebody else in for the discussion in a second. I'm glad Colin came back. The midfield, though, I mean, we didn't sign Basuma this summer, which is starting to look like maybe a good decision considering what he's dealing with right now, or what he's put in front of himself at this point. But we know Arteta loves Xhaka. We know Thomas Partey is going to play when he can. Without AFCON or significant injury involved, do you see? Again, I'm not talking about should we. I'm saying, do you see us bringing in like who do we supplant? Does Partey not keep his job because we bring in someone to replace him? Not suggesting that's a gimme, but thank you. He's not going to make Xhaka a squad player. So Taylor, I mean, like, are we really going to bring in somebody over the summer in midfield, or do we have between Mainsley and Lokonga and Partey and Xhaka, is that the midfield that he thinks he needs to have?
I don't know that we're going to bring somebody in. I do think that there's probably a role that Ainsley can play in there. I do think that some of what's happening does come down to direction. I don't know if they are being explicitly told to play a certain way, or if they are taking it upon themselves. I would think it's the former. But I think that Partey, in particular, because we're talking about today's game, he made a few decisions for me that felt like they were coached into him, and they feel like they were the inappropriate actions. The way he drives the ball forward sometimes, it's a little too lackadaisical and slow for me. He seems 1 or 2 steps behind where he should be. I don't know if those are the moves he'd naturally be taking. And so I feel like we have something there. It's just a matter of maybe unlocking its potential a bit more. I don't know if I'm alone in thinking that. And that's not to say that this is like, Arteta's fault, because I don't think that falls on him necessarily entirely. But it feels like there's maybe something a little bit drilled in there that we need to figure out.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I just worry that although we haven't always seen it with end product, we have a very strong attacking 4. We have a back 5 now that's phenomenal, and like they've played together for years. It's just a team that lacks the middle. Like how do you connect the front to the back? That's like the chemistry experiment that we have to get.
I'm going to go out on a limb and go different. We don't have a killer up front. We don't have an assassin. Pierre is just not doing that. He's missing too many opportunities. I think if you have a real threat up on top, and that's not easy to find someone, a Salah type player or something like that, that's what we need, is someone to keep them on their toes. Thierry Henry always kept them on their toes. We always get people up the defense on their toes. I think the midfield is getting the ball up there. We're just not finishing the job.
Well,
That's just
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hear that for about 29 million, we could probably buy Joe Willock from Newcastle. All right, so let's bring in our probably our final open micer today. Always love when we have new faces on here. Colin from, I believe, Richmond, Virginia. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Richmond, about an hour and a half from my home. Colin, were you at Gus's today?
I wasn't this morning. I slept in too late, so I had to watch it solo at home. But love that place.
But do you go to? So you do go to Gus's. So you are unfortunate enough to be of the acquaintance of Tom Rosenhammer. Then.
Oh, absolutely! What a legend,
buddy Tom. You can catch Tom's escapades on the vlogs that I've posted, the Magic Mike vlogs that I've posted on YouTube.
Yeah, he was with you a good amount of that trip.
Yeah, he was there for 10 of my 30 days, and Tom and I love traveling over there together. I wouldn't want to live with the guy, but he's a good travel partner to have overseas. But enough about Tom. Colin, anything specifically you want to drill down on the game today? I mean, we've covered a lot of the angles, but we want to hear your point of view.
We've covered a lot of it. I think the main point that I just kept coming back to my mind was, youth is really carrying us, like really, really carrying us. When you think about the fact that, in my opinion, the two worst performances from our starting 11 were the only two guys that are above the age of 24, in Aubameyang and Thomas Partey, that is a little worrying to me. I'm gonna be honest there. But the other side of that coin is, man, it looks like the recruiting that we've started to do over the last couple of years with these new guys we're bringing in, it's only getting more and more promising. I mean, to see the young guys, especially like Tavares and Sambi, respond in that way after the struggles that they had last weekend at Anfield, my goodness. I mean, even just in this match, of when you look at how frustrated Nuno must have been with his first half performance, and then to come out after halftime and perform like he did and run like he did all the way to the final whistle. Man, these guys have some great mentalities, and they're looking like they don't really need to lean on these experienced guys. They've got the leadership and the drive to do it themselves.
I'm surprised.
It's interesting too, the two positions you pointed out in Nuno and Tavares, the potential replacements for them, and this kind of goes to your point of how youthful we are. The guys that you would bring in their stead of Niles and Tierney, that are our quote experienced players, are both 23, 24 years old as well. So even our veteran experienced options are still relatively young in the grand scheme. So that kind of goes to your point of just how youthful this team is, and it should give you a good idea of where we're at in terms of the team we have and where we're at positioning wise. Assuming West Ham doesn't get a result from City, we're going to be level on them with points for fourth headed into December, and in a pretty good place for how young that team is.
Yeah, and I'm actually surprised at. I mean, Colin, you're the second person today, so it must be there must be some truth to it that's identified a vast difference between Tavares' first half and second half. I wrote down a few notes in the first half saying I thought he had absolutely shown that Arteta was right to have faith in him and to get kind of a what we call a rehab game, but like a mental rehab game, not a physical rehab game, against Newcastle, because I thought his first half performance was fine, quite good actually. I'd give it a 6.5 out of 10. He was an 8 out of 10 in the second half. There's no question about that. But I mean, that guy had the ball at his feet probably 20 minutes out of the game. And we talked last week about how in the first half, Emil Smith-Rowe had the ball for 37 seconds or something ridiculous like that out of the entire first half. I haven't looked at it, but Tavares, it had to be like out of the first 45 minutes, he probably had 10 or 11 minutes with the ball at his feet.
Yeah, I don't think it was particularly a poor first half necessarily, maybe the right word, more just frustrating. And it was primarily just that decision making in the final third, where there were 3 or 4 instances where that cross into the box is absolutely on, and instead he just goes for this absolutely wild attempt where you're thinking like, okay, come on.
I'll give you the fact that he seems to be taking shooting practice from Thomas Partey. I mean, I will give you that.
Well, I think what's actually interesting about Tavares in the first half, I think what kind of gets underplayed is because the guy never stops running. I mean, can we just talk about how he's an absolute physical monster? Like, this
Relentless.
guy runs sprints, like 50 sprints. It doesn't matter if it's the 89th minute or if it's the second minute. This guy is running at you. And by the end of the first half, they were knackered. They just could not handle it. They were actually physically tired. You'll actually notice in the second half, that's where their subs came in on that side, because Tavares was just running them up and down the field, and they started to target the left hand side. That's why you saw Saka drift over. That's why you saw ESR start playing in that area in space a little bit more, because Tavares can just run them down. I mean, he's got like Duracell batteries back there or something. They just stay meant to last. You know what I mean?
I think he's easy with athletic guy on our team. It's like pretty his way on the ball. On top of that, he's so confident. There were several moments of this game where he was doing these little feints and was just roasting Newcastle's defense. I mean, to be fair, they're not a great defense, but he had them on toast, as they say. He's somebody who, Mike, like you, first half, I was like, man, this is a guy, if we get him working at 95% all the time, that is a gem in this team, really. And then to your point earlier, Colin, our worst players on the day were our senior players. And I think that was pretty evident. The fact that we have guys that are 21, 22, 23 that are putting in performances like this after we were all explicitly told that they are not good, I think it needs to be consistently called out because it's pretty tremendous.
And who are the people telling us that they're not good? Let's name and shame.
Yeah.
Let's not. By the way, every time you see me look to what I guess must be your right, if you're watching this, Liverpool have scored another goal.
What's the score?
That's what that means. That's what that means, by the way. So if we do this for long enough, my head's going to permanently be in this position. But so we're going to start to wrap up a little bit. We want to keep it to a tight hour today, but we got about 5 or 10 minutes left. Frazier in the chat, who is unable to join us because he's hanging Christmas decorations, which reminds me, happy Hanukkah in a couple days to everybody. It's a November Hanukkah. Don't ask how that happens, but where's all the love for Ben White? I mentioned it earlier in this podcast, but we really no one's taken the role. So whoever wants to jump in and cuddle with Ben White for a minute. I thought he was, from the moment he made an interception, I think in the first couple of minutes in the game, that guy does something that most center backs do not do.
Well, you heard me say it last week. He is literally the best passer of the ball in the team.
He might be, yeah.
Like,
I mean, other than Nuno Tavares, who who was looking like peak Mesut Ozil today, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
With that assist, but like, I mean, the guy is solid. I mean, he took a little while to bed in, but I mean, he's every bit. I mean, Seaside Mustafi, my ass. He is the only white in London is Ben White. I don't know if I want to go there. I think that's a Tottenham thing, but it sounds a little different than. Aston, let's no, I'm just kidding.
We might get our affiliation pulled if we dive too deeply into that one.
Yeah, we don't want that to happen.
Here, I'll say.
Oh, it happened. Oh, it happened. Damn it. Yeah, Ramsdale might be the best passer, but all right. So anyone want to give Ben White a?
I'll say something. I think it's nice we don't have to talk about him too much. We had to talk about so many of our center backs incessantly. It was to no end, and it was driving all of us mad. And I think that he does nice, flashy things, but he's tidy, and I think that that's important and is an overlooked quality sometimes, and it's the reason why he doesn't get brought up a whole lot. I heard somebody last week call him Ben Shite at the pub, and I think that is just so far from the truth. I think he's been solid. Yeah. If people are going to talk Maguire up the way that they do, how you cannot talk Ben White up is just beyond me.
If you can't see it with your eyes, and look, I am not the best at identifying, football tactically or I'm not the best judge of that. I just kind of see what I see. but I mean, Ben White has started every game since Manchester City, I think. And how many clean sheets do we have? I mean, it's not just Ramsdale that's keeping the clean sheets, although he's doing a great job of it. But I mean, it's him with those two in front, and yeah, Frazier. I'm glad Jared, that you kept this up, because Frazier said simply superb. It's either the Gabby or White show at CB. Doesn't matter which one it is, but they make each other stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm looking to the left again.
Whiplash.
Oh, my neck hurts.
Speaking of Gabby, I'm so shocked that Gabriel Martinelli scored, and you're not having the whole show about that today.
It's a good point. Yeah, I do have it on my notes, but I mean, there's a lot to love today. So Aston, have at it. I mean, the guy gets in. What? First of all, what a masterful sub from Mikel Arteta, recognizing that Saka needed to come out and putting Martinelli in. I mean, that was a masterclass from. I'm acting as though Saka didn't need to come out from injury.
I mean, he could have put Pepe in. He could have put Pepe in.
He could have put Pepe in. He could have reclaimed Reece Nelson off of loan and put him in. He could have done a lot of things. Could have put Willian in. But
we were also 2-0. We were also 1-0 up, and he could have put like Ainsley Maitland-Niles in, which is actually something he does very often to kind of shore up games. I actually really like that he went for it. And further, I really like the fact that, listen, all of us talk about the fact that Martinelli's not playing enough. All of us want to see Martinelli more, but he's held him. And guess what? When he gets the chance to show his stuff, he's committed. You can see it from the moment he steps out on the pitch. He's so galvanized to want to show that he's good enough to be in the team. And that's the sort of competition we have wanted in the team forever. Back when we used to have Theo Walcott, who used to have that spot forever and zero competition. Now we have a couple of guys that really, really, really are at the point of their careers, because they're super young, that they need to show off what they can do in every little spurt. That's why Pepe didn't get a shot today, because last time we gave Pepe a shot out there, he didn't do anything. So now it's like, okay, great, good. We've seen what you can do. Now let's put Martinelli in, and then Martinelli puts up a show. Now Saka's got to look over his shoulder and wonder, okay, now I got to stay fit, because the guy behind me might come in and take my spot for good.
Good. I mean, we don't have to like play a guy 90 minutes or put him on loan or sell him. I'd love for him to be playing more, but guess what? Next season, he'll start every single game in Europe in the group stage.
Martinelli's 18 years old. Okay, so he still has a lot to learn. I think, we talked about his touches and how he works the ball, but he's 18. You don't want to put a kid in that kind of pressure day in and day out. I think bringing him in the way he does and against certain teams allows him to build a confidence up, as opposed to, tear him down. I'm always a firm believer of bringing the young players up through my experience with youth ball in the national program, bringing these younger players up a little bit slower pace. Some, obviously excel when they're kids, Christian Pulisic, but other guys need time to develop. And Martinelli needs time to develop. And let's not wreck this young man's confidence, because he's a future player on this team for 10, 12, 15 years.
15 years. That's a long career.
35.
Yeah, okay. All right. I would love that. I would love that.
He'd be 30, 33.
I can't believe that Gabriel Martinelli is the same age as my son. But
before, really quickly, because I'm gonna go. It's definitely for me. But when they were in LA a few years ago, Steve and I got to meet a bunch of the team, right? And Martinelli was there. It was his first trip with the team, right? And he was signing autographs, and you could tell that this guy had not signed many autographs in his life, because he wrote every single letter in his whole name out in his autograph. And that tells you how young he is and how far of a career he's got ahead of him.
Yeah. Like my son's signature is basically his name in cursive.
Yeah, exactly.
And script. I don't know what it's called over in England, but anyway. But yeah, it's. I love the guy. I do think he's being handled. I'd err on the side of saying he's being handled carefully and correctly than talent wasted. It's just this. He's too good. He's like him and Balogun are kind of in this position where they're too good for the U23s. You don't want to send them out on loan because they're too valuable to have on hand. and we don't have those European games for him to play in as ESR had last year. So this is kind of a year that's going to be a bit of a challenge unless he gets more playing time through injury, which would not be a good thing. I don't know that we're going to see him a ton, but getting a 30-minute run out today and doing what he did with it. I mean, Colin, his reaction after he scored today, just in that dog pile, he looked like, this is a kid who cries a lot. Normally it's when he's injured. And I'm comfortable with my,
Hey, I'm a crier too.
Yeah, I cry for good, bad, and different. I'm going to cry when this podcast is over. But that's a little weird. But like, you could just see how much it meant to him. And so any potential worry about him getting antsy and wanting out because he's not getting playing time, I hope, we can start to dispel today. But I mean, Colin, what do you see for the rest of the season for him? Do you see spot starts, maybe quick run-ins at the end of the game, or do you think he actually can force his way into the side?
I think his performance today does wonders for his possibilities moving forward this season, mainly because I'm also thinking we've got our two main boys. We've got Saka and ESR on these two wings. We now know that Martinelli can play both of those wings. He's played more on the left wing in the past for us anyways. So we know that he can drop into either of those spots. And obviously this season, Pepe has not really been able to make his chances count when he's come in, when he's featured. And so I think Martinelli could be looking and saying, first things first, I got to be the first one off the bench when we need a goal, because that's been Pepe more often than not in the past. And so if he can just get his foot in the door of just being like, I'm the first sub, when we need a goal, I'm the guy that Mikel turns to. I got those fresh legs. I can play on either side. And I think that he will start to build some confidence after today. I think he's going to be just fine. And, I know that we're not in Europe, so obviously there's a lot less room for rotation, but we can't just expect Saka and ESR to be playing 90 minutes for 38 games. It's even without Europe, it's not going to happen. That shouldn't happen, especially given how young they are. And so we're going to need him, man. I really think we're going to need him. And today's performance put me at ease, I think, in just maybe a little pressure taken off Saka and ESR.
Well put. I think him passing Saka in the depth chart.
Another one?
No, I think it's Southampton almost right.
Well, we got a little break in the action while Mike's checking the score. Taylor, I know you have to jump off. We greatly appreciate you having on. Always great guest. We love having you back. So if you want to give a quick shout for anywhere we can find you, anything you want to shout out before you jump off, feel free.
I'm not super active on Twitter, but Arsenal LA on Twitter is our group. MK runs that. Arsenal Los Angeles on Instagram. We're at the Fox and Hounds pub in Studio City every game day.
How many people were there today, Kate?
There were like 10, 12 of us.
At 4:30 a.m.
Yeah,
that's
bad.
Beautiful.
Yeah, we were all there at 4, basically, yeah.
I got to tell you, people over here were bitching about a 7:30 kickoff, Taylor.
Yeah. Well, people in Islington bitch about a 12:30 kickoff.
Yeah.
I barely had time to have breakfast. Oh.
At least we won, because when we lose the 4:30 games and I'm taking down the flags, it's by myself. It's very demoralizing. So today I had help. Yeah.
Well, Taylor, awesome to see you. Take care.
Right.
Give our best to
Much
everybody.
love,
See you in a few weeks.
Steve, see you, buddy.
And
Bye, Taylor. Thanks.
Bye,
we're going to round off the post-game press conference has been going on. Let's see if we get some quotes here. Eddie Howe says, I'm not seeking any controversy, but I felt the 50-50 calls went against us.
To be fair, they didn't get a lot of calls. Not saying that those were right or wrong. They did not get very many calls today.
This was one of the better refereeing performances I've seen in an Arsenal game in a long time.
I thought there were 3 or 4 calls that normally always go against us that didn't today, which was a nice change of pace.
well, to that exact point, you can kind of see like Eddie Howe kind of knew that they were going to be pushed back, so they kept sending the ball over to Wilson in hopes that he could just fall over in the penalty box and make something happen, and it just was not going their way today because Gabby and White shut him out.
that penalty shout from Will, it really did frustrate me. It really, I thought he absolutely could have just stayed on his feet and tried to put that into the bottom corner when he was away there. And then he just, as soon as he felt Nuno's shoulder, just thought, I'm just going to drop to the floor. And I thought that was
And meanwhile,
kind of a lame move.
And meanwhile, the Martinelli one, I mean, there was no shoulder to shoulder there. It was shoulder
to cheekbone.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, I'm also seeing video now of after Martinelli's goal, Ramsdale coming out to the center of the pitch to hug him. I mean,
wow.
I can't love Ramsdale enough. The impact, little things like that. When Lacazette scored against Crystal Palace, and I remember this because we were sitting in the end that Arsenal were defending at the time, and in the hubbub where I believe I may have taken my shirt off, all I could see was out of the corner of my eye was Ramsdale run the length of the pitch to celebrate with the rest of the team. I actually have video of it. All right. In my defense, I'm 8 months pregnant. It's a boy, and yeah. And
I mean, what are you defending at this point? You take your shirt off so often; it's just part of the package. You know what I mean?
I take my shirt off almost once a day.
I'm more upset when your shirt is on. That is more when I'm upset. That's more when I question what's wrong.
That's what the chicks say. But you know, I did. Tom was Tom with me, right? Yeah. So yeah. All right. So and another one here. Tottenham get battered everywhere they go. Tottenham get battered everywhere they go. Everywhere they go. I love how I love how everyone's like I don't know who this person is except for the random guy behind me whose wife is like looking at him like he's crazy, but he's joining in. Anyway, yeah, I'm not seeing too many quotes because I'm co-hosting.
I do have one quick point I wanted to bring up, one that I don't know if I've heard just yet, if that's all right, but I was extremely happy with Tomiyasu today. I don't know if we've touched on him specifically, but man, he did what we know he can do, right? He was aerially dominant. He was physically dominant. He has a surprising amount of pace for how tall he is and how built he is, given that he's 6'2" and he's not like a lanky guy. He's not like a Tammy Abraham. Like he's built bigger than that, and so his pace, like, he doesn't get beat very often out on the wings. But then we know he's not an overlapping fullback. Obviously, we can tell that that's not his game specifically, but man, his connection with both Saka and then Martinelli, obviously, as well, when he came on, I was extremely encouraged by that performance, and it made me realize, like, he may, in terms of going forward and attacking, he seems like against a higher line, right? Because once Newcastle went back and we got the first goal, they started playing a little bit higher up to try, because they were chasing the game, and he started pinging in some great passes to bring those right wingers in behind, stuff that we haven't seen a ton of from him, and stuff that we've all often maybe cited as not one of his strengths, particularly going forward. And I thought all around, this may have been his best performance in an Arsenal shirt, to be honest.
That's a great call. One of his strengths appears to be being an every game right back in a back four back five that doesn't give up goals. How long has it been since we knew who our right back was going to be every game and felt confident in it? Aston, final words from you today before we wrap up?
Yeah, just on that Tomiyasu thing, I do want to just kind of like you're saying, I think that it's a little bit of the Nacho Monreal. like you don't really realize it like while you're watching it because it's so under the radar. But there's just nothing coming down his side. There's absolutely nothing coming down his side. And then on the other way, he's actually linking up. I mean, you saw the assist today for Martinelli. I mean, that was some pretty slick play. And Martinelli, let me tell you, plays different than Saka. Saka likes to play high and wide and come in. Martinelli just wants to drive at the opponent's center backs, and Tomiyasu saw the run and was still able to link up with them. Long may it continue. Super Tom is he might actually be my man of the match after considering the whole game.
Yeah, and Colin, real quick, let's double back and get your man of the match. Was it Tomiyasu?
It was really tough for me between Tomiyasu and actually Sambi, just because I thought that from minute 1 to 90, I think he may have been our most consistent player, if that makes sense. It just felt like he started off at this level and kept that going all the way until the final whistle. So I'm actually going to go with Sambi on here. Just to keep it interesting.
88 passes, 82 successful, 60 in the opponent's half, 92% pass percentage, 6 key passes, 2 tackles, 1 clearance, 8 gained possessions. Struggled against, I mean, he was right up there with Nuno Tavares as far as the mares that were had against Liverpool, and what a response from him. So we've got Lukonga man of the match, we've got Tomiyasu man of the match. Jared, who your final words and man of the match?
Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit different. I think they made a good case for both of those guys. Tomiyasu also, we didn't mention the quality of the ball he put into Martinelli. But it was excellent. Gave him a chance to put it in first time. My man of the match, I was a little bit torn. I was tempted to go Tavares just because of the relentlessness he plays with. He constantly pushes forward. And I think it was Aston alluded to earlier. He just wore out the Newcastle players down that side. But for my player of the game, I'm going to go Bukayo Saka. Obviously scored the goal, but I thought more than anything, after a first half where we dominated the ball and just didn't have any end result, in the first 15 minutes, he created 3 really good opportunities for us. And I think that was sort of the catalyst that gave us the momentum that once he scored, that we were really going to push forward and get a second and put an end to the game. And I think he was the one who really got all that started. So it was a close one, but for him, I would go, or for man of the match, I'd go Saka today.
Outstanding. Yeah, I mean, he did some stuff out there that, I mean, it was just special. His close control with the ball and just the ideas. He sees things before other people see them, I think, and that's the key to his progression. So we've got 3 different men of the match. Are we going to go 5 for 5 with this, Steve?
We're going to go 5 for 5 maybe, because I'm going to go with Tavares.
No, we're not going to go 5 for 5. No.
Who had? Oh, okay. Great minds. For what you said, Jared, off the ball, the running, the line to line, end to end, constantly putting pressure. Mm-hmm. They can't focus on other parts of the match when they're worried about this guy going up and down the pitch. They can't focus. And then on the ball, he had that sublime pass earlier. I like him for the man of the match.
Yeah, and I'm going to agree with that. I mean, man of the match is not supposed to be Daniel's. And chat, put in your man of the match. Alonzo, we want to hear from you. Daniel, I think, is saying Tomiyasu. A couple people are mentioning how I put the shirt back on backwards after it was off of my body in the Crystal Palace game, and yes, that's how I do things. But Gabriel's Daniel Roberts man of the match. I'm going with Tavares, and like I was saying, it's not supposed to be like a comeback player of the year type of thing or comeback player of the game. How he did against Liverpool is not supposed to influence what I think about him as man of the match in this game. But I can't help but put that kind of context into it. And it wasn't just that he did all right. He dominated that side. He played responsible defensively and was all over the front half of the pitch offensively. And that assist to Saka on the goal, just wonderful interplay. So I'm going to go with Tavares as well. He got his name back. Change of hairdo, which I can either go for you or against you, honestly. I mean, it's almost like he changed his hair. He wanted to be a different person than he was in Liverpool, and I think it worked. So I'm going to go with that hairdo from this point forward. And as long as he keeps playing like that, I would expect to see Karen Tierney on Thursday, but if I don't, again, him against, I don't know if that's Ronaldo's side or not really, but I'd expect to see Karen Tierney on Thursday night. But if I don't, my confidence in Tavares is restored.
I don't know. My whole thing from is the mileage he put on today. Is he going to be 100% fit? And should we run him down? And this is where injuries start coming in. When you play a hard match, he's a young kid. But
we don't want Tierney to be Tavares' injury cover, because Tierney gets injured himself a lot. And then we end up with Kolasinac in the situation. We don't want that. So, all right, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you, Colin, for joining us. Please come back and do it again in the future. See if you can get Tom on, although they're probably doing their own podcast, which, by the way, I will say is an excellent podcast. Good chemistry there. Not a lot of people watching it because they don't really do any promotion. But if you check out the Richmond Gooners podcast on YouTube, it's a good group of guys talking about football. Aston, good to see you again. I will be we'll catch some games when I fully move down here. In the chat, Tezzy Mai, who has Martinelli for the man of the match, Daniel Robert, Mikey Hers, whose house is probably sleeping right now, including all of the members of it. Irie Leon, do I have that right? I'm completely messing that up, but Alonzo, thanks for coming on earlier. We also had Rich Wilcox on earlier. Rob Ford's in the house. Puga from Oklahoma City, who's in Virginia right now. John Dublin Gooner, everybody for joining us. I appreciate it. One quick announcement having to do with Gooners versus Cancer. The fundraiser is over for the year. We did break our record from last year, raising $21,500. It's amazing. We've released some thank you videos on Twitter. Next Wednesday night, this coming Wednesday night, the 1st of December, if you are in the raffle, you're going to want to tune in to the Gooners podcast at 10 o'clock UK time, 5 o'clock Eastern, for the final prize draw. We're going to have some special guests. We're going to have some videos from special guests. We're going to be drawing all the prizes, and then comes the long chore of sending everything out. But this is what you guys have been waiting for, so please do join us. It'll be fun. And again, thank you for all your support with Gooners versus Cancer. Jared, I can't thank you enough for everything that you've done and helped me behind the scenes. And it's always nice to hand out prizes. That's more fun than going for the donations is handing out the prizes that we get. So please do join us, and that's it.
And thank you, Mike, for all your hard work on it. I know what you go through, Gooners versus Cancer. You've won. You're not one to brag. You won several awards this year.
Well, I am one to brag, but
trying to be nice. But what awards did you get this year?
Well, we won the football content award for the best charitable campaign. But again, that's something that comes down to people voting for us and people judging for us. So again, it's a support thing. But next year it's going to be football versus cancer, because leukemia, lymphoma, blood cancers aren't just an Arsenal thing; it's a football thing. So we're really going to try to grow this next year. So the more that you can help out, the better. And anyway, that's about it. It's a win. We're back. The treble is on. We're going to win everything that we can get, and that's it. So goodbye to everybody, and